The story of my messed up heritage. This weekend I found out my mom is not a normal mother and is a narcissist or maybe a full-blown sociopath. For you to understand the full ramifications of what she has told me, I will go into my backstory. My mom, me and grandparents all lived together until I was 6. My granddad is my mom's stepdad. However, he was always family to me and I never considered him as a step-grandparent. When my mom was 30, she had me. My dad was never in the picture. I was told he was a married man who my mom was seeing. One day he turned around and said he didn't want to see her anymore and wanted to try and make the relationship with his wife work for the sake of his kids. He vanished and mom never saw him again, and soon after mom found out she was pregnant. She decided that she wouldn't tell her parents the guy's name and wouldn't tell him unless he called her, as it wasn't her place to destroy a family, and refused to put a name on the birth certificate. My grandparents helped her through the pregnancy. When I was 5, my mom met Chris, my stepdad, and we moved into a separate house. Chris has his quirks. He was nice, but didn't want to be a dad yet. My mom changed all her parenting ideals to match his strictness. An odd choice to make for someone who doesn't want kids. Okay, on to the issue at hand. With the birth of my son, I started to wonder who my dad is, more so I could be aware of any possible medical conditions than having a relationship with him. I asked my mom last year and got the same answer as usual. Married man. No pictures or number this time. I started looking into him. No record of his name in the school. Mom said she met him. The age didn't line up with how long people are at school for, so she got me an ancestry kit. Imagine my surprise when a member of my grandfather's family popped up there. So last weekend I confronted my mom, who needed a few days to remember, and this weekend I got the results of this. And my grandfather is my father. The story my mom gave was so crazy, I can't accept it. But we'll type it here. She was deeply depressed as she didn't have children, was misused by her granddad. Her actual dad abandoned her and all relationships were not healthy. Her type was married men, so her stepdad, my granddad, dad, was the first nice person in her life, and they became so close friends that people would joke they were having an affair. But it was never like that. One drunken night out, she opened up to my granddad about why she was depressed. She wanted a baby and asked him to help her with this and gave him a pot. He left a deposit, went downstairs, and immediately realized this was insane, so asked her to destroy the sample. She said she would but didn't, and used it anyway, claiming they never had intercourse ever. Then a week later, the married man she was seeing, the same one we can find no record of, had a condom split, so she presumed it was him and my granddad. Dad never suspected a thing. Now, the DNA lines up that my granddad is my dad, but I don't know what to do with the information or where my head is at, and I would really appreciate any advice on what you think my next steps should be. A few of my scattered thoughts. My mom must be an utter sociopath. Not only does she do that with her stepdad, in her early years she actively convinced my grandparents to move in with her while raising his child and lying, if not having an affair. And if the story is true, she must have had a suspicion I could have been his and just lied. How could a person with feelings and emotions do that to their own mother? Followed by letting this lady look after her affair child while she goes through cancer. My nan goes over monthly to check on her. If anyone can lie to her entire family like this and rub their faces in it like this, I can't see her as someone with feelings, and I don't trust her at all. Even her husband doesn't know about this. Heck, while she met up with me to tell me this, she told her husband she was going to see my son. Her lies never end. While I never realized how crazy my mom is, I knew she was a little nutty. My granddad, however, is a different matter. He has always been there, my rock when I was younger and dealing with thinking my mom would die before I hit 16. He is always so loving to his wife that the person I thought he was just wouldn't do this. But mom's story is so disgusting and crazy. Why would she lie? But as he is so sensible, why wasn't the advice go to a sperm donor or bar crawl, dress up, buy a guy a few drinks and don't use protection? Finally, what do I do with this information? I can't face my family knowing the whole close-knit dynamic is built on a lie. I'm tempted to tell everyone, but my grandma is a saint, and I can't imagine telling a 83-year-old your husband and daughter have stabbed you in the back, even though you spent your entire life looking after the woman your husband was cheating on you with and their affair baby. I think at this stage of her life it may kill her. She has had such a hard life and just doesn't deserve to look back and see that every second of her kindness was wasted. If I could tell the world while protecting her, I would. But I don't think it's right that my mom gets to walk away from this scot-free, and then I think it's only right that my granddad should be told, if he doesn't already know. Mom says he doesn't, but how can I believe all of this? If I tell him without Mom talking to him, then I have the best chance of the real story. However, I rarely see him without my grandma, and I can pretty much work the real story out, and I can't help but feel this isn't my mess to clean up. My mom should tell him, and if she says I told him this story, I will know it's an outright lie. So, my head is a mess, and my so is too involved and wanting to protect me, so I could really use some impartial advice on what you guys think I should do. I want what's best for me, my so, my kid, and my grandma. Update 1. Okay, it's been a few days and the shock has settled somewhat. I read everyone's replies and tried to answer them all, but it has been a busy few days. Original post is here for those who didn't see it. The 3 consistent pieces of advice were to get therapy, that my anger seems to be totally directed at my mom and none towards my dad, granddad, and to maybe consider that my granddad has groomed her from a young age. I want to assure everyone that all your comments were listened to. I will correct that it wasn't that I wasn't angry at him, but the shock of that bit hit harder. My mom and I always had a turbulent relationship. He, however, was my rock for my entire life, and this was so out of left field and unlike the man I knew, that it took me a little longer to realize that this could very well be a form of grooming. I moved the situation forward by texting my mom my feelings. Too short and a very long text. It boiled down to 2 main points. I don't believe your story. You need to tell me what happened. Was this an affair? Was it something more sinister? You need to tell my granddad, dad, this. My mom's answer was very short. She didn't mention my feelings or ask how I was once, but told me she wouldn't speak to me about this again. That she was not groomed and this was her idea. She isn't sorry and it's my fault. I'm hurt as my investigation has forced her to tell the story. She will tell my granddad. The next day my granddad called me immediately. He sounded as I felt shocked, confused, etc. My mom just said I'm not as shocked as I thought I would be. He told me his version, with 2 key differences, that it wasn't a deposit on the side, but mom had pre-bought a kit that allowed artificial insemination, which is just as likely a chance of working as intercourse itself. He was convinced by her it was a good idea. He can't remember every argument, as it was 33 years ago, but the 2 that sticks out are you're the person I am closest to, and I trust you, and if I needed a kidney, you would give me that without hesitation. This conversation along with a few beers meant he went along with it. However, after he did it, he realized what a utter mistake this was and told my mom this is a mistake. Let's not do this. Bin it and let's not talk of it again as nothing happened. Mom agreed, said she would bin his sample, and he left for home thinking he avoided the biggest mistake of his life. Mom of course did not destroy it as she said and used it. In the eyes of my country's law, this is sexual assault. In my last post, I mentioned my mom was molested by her granddad and abandoned quite publicly by her birth father. Something I didn't mention against my granddad is he also had a rough childhood. His mother died when young and his stepmom was abusive. This has led him to forgive any mistakes his family makes and means family comes first without exception and to a fault. Because he views my mom as his daughter. He feels the villain of the piece as the understanding of mental health wasn't there. I didn't realize how deep her depression was, and I regret not telling her to see a therapist, and that he failed her massively for not doing so. He is also thinking of telling his wife immediately, but thinks I should have a say in that choice. He empathized with how I was feeling too, something my mom did not. I want to believe him. However, as I said earlier in this post, it's this relationship that will impact me more in losing. So spoke to my partner for an outsider's opinion, as she of course knows these people traits and flaws. She agrees that this sounds plausible in an insane situation. My granddad's flaw in putting family first. My mom's manipulative and lying nature, while her story not lining up completely. There could always be the chance they had an affair or drunken one-night stand that neither will admit to. But nothing has ever made my partner or me feel there was any kind of spark or awkwardness between them to suggest this. My mom also always spins stories to make her look like a saint. The easy option would be to say this was grooming or assault as an easy out. Why make up this completely unbelievable lie as another option? A few people may wonder if my mom is that good at manipulation. There are many small instances, but let me just say the biggest. She once convinced my grandma and granddad to buy a house with her that none of them could afford on their own outside of their hometown. A couple of years later, she moved out. When I was younger, my grandma said, "You know how convincing your mom can be, and it's only by piecing this together when I was older, when she has tried to convince me with some very skewed point of view or outright lies that made me realize that how she communicates isn't normal, but manipulation." So, next steps, my granddad wants all 3 of us to meet up Easter weekend and discuss if we tell the wider family. He is willing to tell his wife if that's what everyone wants, even knowing it will destroy his marriage. My mom hasn't contacted me since, so I don't know if she will even come. If she does come to this meeting, I will be using this as an opportunity to confirm if my mom did withdraw consent when we are all there. If she does admit this, then I am inclined to believe this crazy story is true and they were both monumentally stupid and my mom has stabbed him in the back. The shock from my granddad is real, but also our relationship was real and we were both in the dark, meaning I can see a way of forging our relationship ahead. My mom, however, I do not trust, and if she admits to this, will also be admitting to sexual assault. I don't imagine her admitting this usually, but she has admitted thus far, only with no other options due to an ancestry test with that relationship. I don't know, I don't trust her, but then she is clearly an old lady with cancer with very deep-seated mental problems. The old relationship will always be dead, but should I set new boundaries and try and form a new relationship with this woman? Or just cut contact due to lack of trust? This I don't know yet. I'll also be setting my boundaries her as far as the wider family goes. My granddad has stated I should get a say in whether my grandma is told. This is something I don't know the morally right thing to do. She is 83 years old, and this will destroy her. And will she even believe this crazy story? Probably not, as she was also misused by her father. So much misuse in my family has been uncovered with this. It's so sad. But then if my granddad was sexually misused, is this fair to destroy his marriage? On the flip side, is it right to lie about something this big? This is a decision I can't make for my own mental health, and ultimately it is not my mistake to clean up after. So, I will be using this meeting to tell them they need to choose between them what the next steps are. My mom has effortlessly kept this life from everyone in her life, so that will clearly be her choice. But will my granddad be able to lie to his wife with this? I don't know. I will tell them that they need to choose, and I will go along with that decision. But if they change their mind, they need to tell me so I can prepare for any fallout. Our meeting will be in a week or two, so I will leave a final update then. For now, I wanted to thank everyone who reached out and gave advice. I will be getting to a therapist soon, so I can make a better informed decision and can make a clearer choice for what's better for me, and child. Someone said I should marry my missus as she has needed to put up with the brunt of my mum's insanity for 4+ years. To those I will say you are right. She is absolutely amazing, and we have been engaged for a while. But COVID, a pregnancy which led to buying a house and our first baby has delayed an actual wedding. But she truly is the best and has been a rock throughout all of this. Update 2. It's been a few weeks and a lot has happened, so as I got such good advice from you guys, I thought I would tell you what happened up until now, and then I won't update any further. Before I continue, I feel I should clarify a comment in my older post. The title said my mum went from normal to narcissist in an hour. She has always been a narcissist. Often narcissists have a golden child and a scapegoat. I was the golden child, with no siblings to be a scapegoat. Enter my fiance and a scapegoat was found. In the last 8 years her nature has become more and more obvious to me. The meaner she treated my fiance, and me being blind to it, failed to defend my partner when I should have. Genuinely believing it was my mum's poor communication skills, which I have been aware of for many years. Anyway, on with the update. My mum, granddad, and I sat down on Good Friday. My mum collaborated with my granddad's story, and she had stolen his sperm. I took on board what people said about her being misused for years, and so I decided to steer away from the act itself. It will always be in my mind that they maybe had an affair, which would mean she was groomed, as the truth they have presented is so bizarre. But it was over 30 years ago, and without it I wouldn't be here, and it's what they both are saying is true. So, I turned the conversation into how we move forward. Originally, I wasn't going to comment on if we should tell anyone or not, as it's their mess. But I know that my mum would argue for keeping it quiet, which she did, and not having an opinion when I know the outcome felt the same as having an opinion on it. So when they asked what I wanted to do, the deciding factor came down to a friend's advice she gave me. Will telling your grandma help you in any way? And no, it wouldn't. So I agreed to keep it quiet. My mum then accidentally told me she had lied to my stepdad and told him I was preventing her from seeing my kid, which I thought was really not okay. I am angry with her for a justifiable reason and am trying to get our relationship to be somewhat salvaged, despite having no trust for her, and she's blaming me for this. So I told her she needs to tell her husband the real reason I haven't been as close. After this conversation, I had 3 days off work and wanted a bit of time and space to put it behind me, book some therapy, and spend time with my and kid, which never happened. That night, somebody tried to reverse a car through my neighbor's house in revenge of what the police told us was a petty squabble, and the neighbors got a rifle, guns are super rare in the UK, and shot at them. Of course, the police were called by numerous people on the street, and thank the gods my child slept through it. My and I were nervous wrecks for a long time after, so goodbye relaxing weekend, and thanks for ruining Easter. After making sure my family was safe, I picked this family drama back up and I met my mum and stepdad last weekend. This was to set clear boundaries in the relationship going forward. My trust in her has broken, And honestly, I don't think she has a long enough life left to rebuild it completely, due to cancer. But my relationship is separate from her and my son's relationship, who loves his Nana and has been kept separate from all of this. I feel very distant from my close-knit family these days, but I guess that's what happens when they lie to you your whole life. My mom has given me an attempt at an apology, however weak. I have told her my feelings, which haven't been understood, and I have set new boundaries, which will probably be ignored, so I will keep my so's mother's advice to heart. If you can offer a relationship to just one person, knowing you will get nothing back, you will have led a good life. Then finally, as of today, my so and I can announce she has been pregnant throughout all this storm. And due to the extra stresses, we have been super nervous that the baby was okay. But in the first scan, the baby was moving around with a strong, healthy heartbeat. Thank you again everyone for the help and advice you gave me. Related. The full details are in my post history, so I'll try to be brief here. My mom lied about my dad's identity my whole life, and I recently found out she sought her stepfather, who I have always seen as my granddad, is actually my father. She lied to me my whole life and has put me in the awful situation of not being able to tell anyone, as it will kill my grandma, who is a saint and has spent her whole looking after and caring for my mom and granddad, and at 86 does not deserve this news and rip my family apart. I know I need therapy. I just have a toddler, a pregnant so no time or money. All of this I could forgive. It's fucked up, but I guess without it I wouldn't be here, neither would my kid. What has really hurt me through this is the lying to others as to why I have been a little different. She told her husband I was blocking her from seeing her grandkid, or blaming me for being upset, her lack of empathy or understanding. Everything she has said is just showing me she does not understand why I am upset. My so has been a goddamn rock, and although she isn't a huge fan of my mother, has tried to remain impartial and polite as I have. Anyway, with a brief overview of a very messed up problem, on to my question. Despite this, last year, my mom and I were quite close. Not the best at communicating, but we used to chat every few days. My mom has had cancer since I was 15. She was given a year and I am now 31. It's come back and I don't think she has long. She is now using a wheelchair. I want her to have as much time with her grandkid before she goes, and both me and my partner want to be able to bury the hatchet so when she passes we can say we tried our best, and we won't feel any regrets when our shock of all of everything passes. That's our plan. But when either of us see her or speak to her, we just feel angry at the past wrongs, the new ones, the shock, everything. And every friend we ask who knows the full story just says they would refuse to see her or be unable to forgive her. And I get it. But I could really use some advice on how to forgive so future me doesn't feel guilty when she is dead in a few months. Anyone got any help? New update. After getting no advice on the last post, I figured there would never be an update to share. Throughout most of this, shock was the predominant feeling. Then about 3 weeks ago, all the emotions hit me like a ton of bricks and I really started to struggle. In November, my partner gave birth to a beautiful baby. She is tired getting up to feed him, and I didn't have the capacity to ignore her tired shortness and not take it personally. The UK health system is slow, and counseling only started 3 weeks ago, so did not know how to heal or find forgiveness to anyone, despite my mum being very sick. But last Thursday, something big changed in writing my thoughts down. But after not really knowing the rules of updating on each sub, I thought I would compile the posts together and put the update here. Last week, after seeing how much I was struggling, my so reached out to my mum to tell her how much it was affecting. My mum's reaction was, "Sorry he is hurting. I wish he would talk to me but won't. I don't want to hurt everyone by telling the truth," to which my so replied, "As a mother, I'm sure you don't want to leave this world hurting your son. In not telling everyone, you are leaving him the scapegoat and she needs to find a solution." To my surprise, this worked and she sat down and told my Nana and her sister her version of the truth. My opinion, as soon as I heard my Nana knew the truth, I rang her and sobbed. However, the truth has lifted a huge mental load from me, and for the first time in nearly a year I can think without a huge cloud over everything. I think this secret was leaving me more and more depressed, and while I was outwardly fine, it was taking an even bigger toll that I realized, and shock had saved me in all the last 3 weeks. Now the truth is out and I can function. My biggest issue was I felt like a sleazeball lying, but didn't know if it was the right thing to do. I can revoke my silence, but couldn't take back the truth, so chose inaction until I knew what to do. But I'm not sure I ever would have figured that out. The other thoughts were, if I waited for my mum to pass away, is it fair sharing this with her sister, who then has to sit with that knowledge without the opportunity to ask any questions for herself? I know I spoke in circles with friends, my partner, and did the best I could so I won't beat myself up too much. But I felt a physical weight lift from my shoulders when I knew the lie was out. I still don't believe their story, however. My mom keeps mentioning she thought my real dad was Robert from school, even though I know he doesn't exist. But at the least, this doesn't affect my identity. My Nana's opinion, my Nana remains a saint. She believed them totally, as she knows how dedicated her husband is to helping his children, and knows how bad my mom's mental health was. She loved her family and is happy for me that I found out my dad and knows he loves me. She is disappointed with her husband for not telling her when he found out a year ago, but is happy that it resulted in me as she couldn't love me more. She is sad I needed to deal with this while raising a baby and didn't think it was fair on them to put me through it. I names my baby after her as she's amazing. My aunt's opinion, my aunt reached out to wish me well and know nothing is affected in our relationship by my parents. She found out yesterday, a little later. She has lost a lot of respect for her sister and stepdad, but knows she loves her family, even if she is disappointed and her trust is shaken. She has criticized that they made me stay silent as it will kill my Nana, and thinks that was cowardly and wrong of them, but knows she needs her family, and my mom in her poor health needs her. She has told her children and told them it is up to them if they believe the story or not. So that's the end of it. I have bought a few self-help books, got a therapist who is helping, and just trying to rebuild after a year of hell. My mom probably only had a few months left, but then she had until I was 17 and I'm 32 now, so we shall see. But with the truth I can at least start forging a small relationship based in truth. However, I doubt it will ever be as strong as it was, just because she doesn't have time to rebuild it to that. Ultimately, what my aunt said really rang true to me. It's a shame, because even if the story is true, nobody will ever believe it, and they will live with that stain on them forever. Edit for clarity a few comments saying the cancer is fake. Totally understand why, however she lost 5 inches, her back collapsed and recently needed a catheter put in. This part isn't faked. Story 2. I refuse to be my friend's alibi so he can cheat on his GF. I, male 21, have known my friend Matt, male 21, since we started college. We're in the same program and have been roommates since day one. Overall, I'd say Matt is a great guy. However, he has a terrible tendency to cheat. Throughout college, I think Matt had 5-7 different girlfriends, and each of those relationships ended because he would cheat. Back in January, he started dating his current girlfriend, Jen, female 21, and has been with her far longer than any of the previous relationships. From my interactions with Jen, I know she's a wonderful person. She's very polite, beautiful, and clearly devoted to Matt. For the past few weeks, Matt has also developed a close relationship with his anatomy lab partner, Cindy, female 21. It's become pretty clear to me and my other housemates, Kyle, male 21, Robert, male 22, Omar, male 20, that there is some romantic relationship between them. We've even all met Cindy as she came by our house a few times. Long story short, Matt has told me and the other guys that things between him and Cindy are moving fairly quickly, and that Jen is completely in the dark about this. He told us that, for the foreseeable future, he'll be spending a few nights hanging out at Cindy's place. Here's the issue. Jen and her roommates don't live that far from us, about a 7-minute walk. So there's a good chance she'll come by looking for him, according to Matt. Therefore, he wants us all to make excuses for his absences and potentially reassure Jen that he isn't up to anything bad. Kyle and Robert are fully on board with this, as they consider it the bro code. Omar is fully against this, and while he has not said he'd tell Jen, he has refused to lie for Matt and has been urging him to end things with Cindy. I would say I'm more neutral. I don't think what Matt's doing is appropriate, but I don't think it's my place to tell Matt how to manage his relationships. I told him that while I wouldn't seek Jen out and tell her what's going on, I wouldn't lie to her either about where he is and instead say I don't know. We all argued about this for a while, and the general gist of things is that Kyle, Robert, and Matt all think I'm being a bit of an ass for not being more cooperative. Aside from this, I don't think there is really much I can do. Moving to somewhere else is both economically and logistically unfeasible, so I think trying to avoid stirring the pot is my best bet. Update. I'll start this update by saying Jen found out last night. Like Matt predicted, she came over to our house Tuesday evening. I saw her pretty quickly since I was also coming back from buying some food. She asked me if I knew where Matt was, and I said I didn't know because I genuinely didn't know at the time. She mentioned how he wasn't responding to her texts and that she was worried about him, and I felt pretty bad hearing that. Kyle, who were inside, came out at this point and said that Matt was in his anatomy lab and then reassured her that he'd contact her once he was finished. She didn't seem entirely satisfied with that answer but thanked us anyway and left. Once she was gone, Kyle told me that Matt was actually on a date with Cindy. Since Matt sometimes brings Cindy over, he'll text the house group chat before they come over to ensure that Jen isn't around. He did this on Tuesday night, and Kyle did alert him that Jen had stopped by looking for him, so he stayed over with Cindy on Tuesday night. Wednesday evening, only Omar and I are home. Kyle was with his own GF, and Robert had an exam. Around 7 p.m., we got a text on the group chat from Matt saying he plans on bringing Cindy over around 8:30, and he asked if Jen came by. I told him that I hadn't seen her, and things went on as usual. I'll add that Omar has refused to respond to these specific text messages from Matt, so there was an expectation on me to clarify if Jen was here or not. A little after 8 p.m., Jen comes by with one of her friends, Carly F21. They asked us where Matt was since Jen hadn't been seeing him a lot lately. Before I could even say anything, Omar told them to come back after 8:30 and Matt should be home. They left, and I did argue with Omar about his decision to tell them to come back since it was inevitably going to cause drama, but he didn't care. I did text Matt and told him about Jen potentially returning, but since he was driving, he didn't read the message. At this stage, I gave up trying to contact Matt and went up to my room. A little after 8:30, Matt walked in with Cindy, and not that long afterward, Jen and Carly returned. Omar let them in. Long story short, there was a lot of Jen yelling and Matt lying and apologizing. I didn't bother coming down since I could hear it all from my room. After about 10 minutes of this, Jen and Carly left. Matt sent Cindy home after this and was pretty pissed at what happened. I reminded him that I sent text messages, which he now saw, and Omar played dumb, acting like he didn't see Matt's message about him asking if Jen was home, but confirmed to him that he told Jen to come back after the first time she came because he didn't think Matt was dumb enough to go out with Cindy 2 nights back to back. Robert and Kyle came home after this point and I filled them in with what happened. There was definitely some tension in the house this morning as Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. He also partially blames Cindy for wanting to come over so often. Overall, Matt doesn't really seem to care that Jen found out and broke things off with him. He said that he'll try apologizing one more time, as he does prefer Jen to Cindy, and if she doesn't accept, he'll leave things as they are. As for Cindy, Matt has already told Kyle, Robert, and me this morning that he plans on ending things with her after the December exam season. He says that he wants to be single again by New Year's so he can have a fresh start. Kyle and Robert think this is pretty hilarious considering how much trouble he got into to be with her. Things have ended more smoothly than I thought and I have made it abundantly to Matt to keep me out of his relationship woes. I have also asked Carly how Jen was holding up this morning as we share a class together. As expected, Jen was very upset about the entire ordeal, and she and her friends consider everyone at our house aside from Omar to be complicit and awful. Quick update, Kyle texted the group chat. His GF knows and she isn't happy. Update 2. I've been receiving a lot of DMs from people wondering how things turned out after the big reveal, so here's a quick recap. Jen did not accept Matt's apology. She has indicated that she, in fact, never wants to see him again. Matt is still with Cindy, and he still plans on breaking up with her after exam season. According to him, Cindy is starting to feel pretty secure now that Matt is no longer with Jen and has expressed her desire to form a serious relationship with him. While he does feel a bit guilty, he thinks it's best for both of them that he ends things with her before New Year's. Despite feeling guilty, Matt has attempted to reactivate his Tinder account, but Kyle made him take it down. Kyle thinks it's too soon for Matt to do this since someone we know is bound to see him there, and according to Kyle, Matt needs to play up the angle that he's heartbroken about falling out with Jen. Kyle has smoothed things over with his girlfriend by claiming he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert backed him up on this and expressed that nobody aside from Matt knew. While I did plan on telling Carly the truth about what was going on, considering how quickly Matt, Kyle, and Robert have been moving, I opted against this. Instead, I've told Carly that I also did not know about Matt's cheating. Yes, it's a lie, but since I was against Matt cheating, I don't think it's fair for me to go down with the ship, considering that both Kyle and Robert are getting off relatively scot-free. Apparently, I was convincing enough as Carly told me that while she herself doesn't think I'm so bad, Jen will need time to process what went down, so it's best to give her space. Again, I get it isn't the most appropriate measure, but I really don't think I deserve to be in the splash zone. Omar has expressed his strong disappointment in all of us, but at this stage his voice has become ambient noise according to Kyle. Since I'm fortunately visiting my parents this weekend, I get to be away from the drama and hopefully any potential fallout. Also, since it's relatively earlier, we'll have to wait and see if anything else happens. But I hope, pray, the worst is over. Update 3. For those wondering why I haven't posted another update, I was busy with exams. However, things have largely calmed down. Omar is doing alright. We're not ostracizing him or anything. All he has is bad exam anxiety, despite consistently getting good marks. We went out to celebrate his birthday a few nights ago, and this did help us all distress. According to Carly, Jen is still very upset about what happened with Matt. However, fortunately, she's less depressed about it now and feels anger towards Matt more than anything else, according to Carly. As for Matt himself, he still claims to be on course to dump Cindy sometime in the near future, as he has remained adamant about being single by the new year. Matt and Kyle claim that it is fair considering the role that Cindy played in all of this, but I'm not so sure. Either way, I'll be staying out of whatever Matt has planned. Kyle has pretty successfully smoothed things over with his own GF. For a bit, it did look like she wanted to take a break from him since she did hear about him telling Jen that Matt was in his lab instead of with Cindy. She was suspicious, but he did reiterate to her that he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert helped him with this, and they have successfully put the entire thing on Matt. Matt is okay with this as he does now admit some responsibility, but he only made this admission after Omar essentially had to spell it out for him. Aside from this, not much is happening since everyone is mainly focused on their exams. Update 4. So, there have been a few developments since my last post. Before you ask, no, I haven't told Kyle's girlfriend anything for obvious reasons. Firstly, I don't want to ruin my housing situation. Second, it'd be my word against Kyle's, Matt's, and Robert's, so she probably wouldn't believe what I have to say. Also, I've started seeing a new girl myself, and things are going smoothly. Snitching on Kyle would probably ruin that as well. I asked Omar privately if he was going to blow the whistle on Kyle, but he didn't give me a particularly straightforward answer. He's hard to read, so I don't know what he'll do. Kyle has begged him not to say anything, so we'll see how that holds. I'm guessing Omar has probably already told the girl he likes about the entire situation. They act like a married couple despite not really dating, so if he knows, she probably knows as well, which does put Kyle at some risk of being found out, but this is only speculation and not my problem. Matt's plan to dump Cindy and be single by the new year has completely fallen apart. As you may recall, Cindy is Matt's lab partner, and the anatomy class they're taking is a full year course. As Omar so smugly pointed out, Matt wants the anatomy professor to write him a ref letter eventually, since he has done prior research with this professor and is doing well in his class. And if he were to have a conflict with his lab partner, that might spoil the letter. Omar has been throwing this constantly in Matt's face by saying things like how Matt needs to pretend to love Cindy even though he isn't capable of love, and how he can't be a hoe anymore because it will affect his academics. He says all this jokingly, but it is hilarious considering how worked up Matt gets. Jen and Carly are doing alright. I saw them before leaving campus the other day, and we spoke briefly. I've heard that Jen is starting to reconnect with her ex, the guy before Matt. Before you ask, she didn't cheat on this guy with Matt. She got with Matt a few months after she and the guy ended things. Hopefully, she finds happiness there. Since our winter break has started, we'll all be headed our separate ways for most of the break. I do plan on hanging out with the guys a few times, though for now, as much as I love tea, I need a break from their drama. Last update. Unsurprisingly, Matt has cheated again on his newest GF, Cindy. I use the term GF loosely because realistically Matt only stayed with Cindy because he needed a recommendation letter from a certain professor and didn't want issues in the class he shared with her. Cindy was essentially a placeholder, and since Matt no longer needs that letter, lucky him, he's more or less done with her. He went on quite a tirade about how annoying and clingy she is, and again mentioned how he still prefers his previous GF, Jen, to her. Matt revealed this information during a completely unrelated conversation to me and one of my other roommates, Omar, last night. The two of us had no idea this was going on, as Matt has been more secretive about whom he tells his relationship info since the last time he cheated. Our other roommate Kyle told us that he has known about Matt cheating on Cindy for almost 2 weeks now. He and Matt are besties. I'm not sure if our other roommate Robert, who wasn't here last night when we're having this chat, knows about Matt cheating yet again. I didn't bother asking Matt or Kyle if he knew. Of course, Cindy has no clue that Matt's been unfaithful, nor does Kyle's own GF, Olivia, know that Kyle's been essentially helping Matt cheat on Cindy. I kinda knew Olivia wouldn't know for obvious reasons, but I didn't want Kyle to confirm this with me. The only reason I got this confirmation was because Omar stupidly asked Kyle, does Olivia know? Realistically, Omar knew damn well that Olivia wouldn't know. She didn't know last time Kyle covered for Matt. But I guess he wanted to burden us with this information for whatever reason. Omar then asked Matt if he was going to break up with Cindy, and Matt only responded by saying eventually, yes. I asked Matt what he meant by this, and he clarified that he wanted to be done with Cindy by reading week, about 2 weeks away. For those wondering, I'm still here for 3 more months until my lease is up. Update: I'm only writing because I've been getting far too many DMs, and I just want to address a few things here. Firstly, please stop DMing me. I've got over 50 in the past few days, and more or less they're all the same nonsense. Second, nobody should expect me to march over to Jen and Carly's house and tell them and all their other roommates that I knew Matt was cheating on Jen for weeks before he got found out. I have a pretty good reputation and don't want to needlessly damage that. You're free to call it cowardice, but I think it's pretty pointless to go talk to Jen since she has largely moved on. I truly hope she's in a better place. Carly and I still have a few classes together this semester, and she generally has a very good opinion of me. We share notes pretty often, and I know that telling her would make her disappointed. Third, nobody in our house has any intentions of telling Cindy that Matt is actively cheating on her. We are all pretty busy dealing with exams, assignments, and interview prep to worry about that. I, however, told Matt firmly that he needed to stop playing games and at least try and hold down a serious relationship after the Cindy saga ends. He said he would heed my advice, but I don't really believe him. Fourth, Kyle's GF Olivia doesn't know about how he's helping Matt cheat on Cindy. Omar did tell him that he should probably come clean about that before it bites him in the ass later. Robert, on the other hand, told Kyle that telling Olivia is madness since she may react as if Kyle was the one cheating. Obviously, Matt also doesn't want Kyle to tell Olivia anything. Lastly, I don't expect Omar to run around spilling tea like most people think. He's got enough on his plate between schoolwork, interviews, and prepping for Ramadan. However, I will admit there is a small chance the girl he likes, Sarah, knows about our situation and may tell Olivia. Kyle does worry about that.